Our map is coming along nicely and we're almost finished. Just a few key areas to mark and some finishing touches to apply. Let's wrap up our project by adding some symbols and finishing touches to our document. Now I'm going to start by opening my Layers panel, and I'm going to click on the Landmarks layer, and then I'll hold down the Alt or Option key and click the Create New Layer button. And I'm going to call this layer Background. Now I'm going to move that to the bottom of the stacking order in the layers, and then I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle much bigger than my bleed area, just giving me plenty of room to work. And I'm going to change the fill color of that to this darker tan color that you see here, and I think that looks a lot better. You know, it's not the sterile white background that we had before. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize some symbols to mark the key areas on this map. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in up here, and I'm going to click and hold on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to grab the star tool. And I'm going to click and drag to create a star, and this is going to be a 5-point star, and I think that looks pretty good. And I'll go ahead and change the color to black. Now to make this a symbol, I'm going to go ahead and open the Symbols panel. And I'm simply going to drag my artwork using the Selection tool onto the Symbols panel, and that's going to add that item as a symbol. I'm going to name this Key Location. Now, for our purposes, and I should really say for print purposes, the type of symbol, the export type, is not really relevant. This would be more important if we were exporting this content to, say, Adobe Animate for animation later on. But in Illustrator and for print purposes, it's really not very important which type of clip you create. I'm going to leave it as a dynamic symbol because that actually allows you to edit the instances where a static symbol would not. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now I have this symbol that I can use here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Type tool, and I'm going to click to create some point type. And this is where Session Skate Shop is located. And I'll just slide that over a little bit closer to the star. And then I have another location over here, which is where the half pipe is located. So again, I'll go to my Symbols panel, drag that in, and we want to make sure that we're on the right layer. So if I go to my Layers panel, you can see that added it to the background layer. So this happens a lot in Illustrator where you start adding content, you don't realize that you're on the wrong layer. Not a big deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Alt or Option click on the New Layer button, and I'll call this layer Locations. And I'm going to move that way to the top. And then I'll go ahead and grab this square and move that up to the Locations layer. And while I'm here, I'll grab the Skate Shop text and the other star and move that up there as well. And if you'd like, we can just go ahead and lock the other layers. That way we don't accidentally put anything on them later on. So I'll just duplicate this text, and I'll double click and name this Half Pipe. That looks good. Now, as I look at this, I'm realizing that I made the star too big, and I don't really like the black. And as a matter of fact, the text for these locations, I'm going to change that to white to differentiate the locations from the street names. Now the stars are too big and I want them to be white as well. So what I can do is if I open my Symbols panel, I can double click on the symbol to go into symbol editing mode. And I'm going to select the star, and I'm going to grab one of the corner handles, and I'm going to start dragging while holding the Shift key and the Option key to scale it proportionately and from the middle. And when I get it to the size I want, I'll let go, and then I'm going to change the fill color to white. Now when I exit symbol editing mode by clicking this left arrow, you're going to notice that both of those symbol instances have been updated. So I'll just change the position of this a little bit, move this over here, maybe reposition this, something like that. I think I like how that looks. So I'll go ahead and zoom out again. Now, another cool thing about symbols is that Illustrator comes with a bunch of pre-built symbols that you can use. And you can access them by opening the Symbols panel, clicking on the Library button down here, and you can see all the different categories that we have to choose from. And you might notice we have one for maps. So if I choose that, it's going to open all the symbols that are included under the category of maps. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the picnic table, and I'm going to click on the compass. And it added both of them to my symbols panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the picnic table down here, kind of position that where the picnic area is. And I'm going to grab the compass, and I'm going to move that down here. Now the compass is way too big, so I'll go ahead and scale that down a bit. I'm going to rotate it because that is actually north, and then I'll position that right here. Now I'd like both of them to be white as well, and for the picnic table I'd like to get rid of that rounded shape. So if I double click on this instance, it'll take me into symbol editing mode. So if I click OK, I'm now editing the symbol in place. Now this is regular artwork just like any other, so if you click on this you may notice that it all moves together because it's grouped. So I'm going to double click to go into isolation mode. Now I'm inside of the group and I can click on the shape and delete it. Now you'll notice I deleted everything, so I'll undo that and I'm going to double click one more time, and now you can see I'm inside of the main group and then inside of the other group. Now I can click on that outer shape and delete it, but the picnic table remains. So if I double click anywhere out here, that'll exit symbol editing mode. Let's move over here to our compass, and we're going to make a change to that as well. I'm going to double click on that to edit it. And I want to edit the color of this. So I'm going to use my direct selection tool, and I'm going to click on this filled shape here, and then I'll just go to select same fill color. And I'm going to change all those elements to white. Then I'm going to click on one of these stroked objects, and I'm going to choose select same stroke color, and I'm going to change all of those stroke colors to white as well. And that's looking a lot better. So now I can exit symbol editing mode, and now I've edited the compass. That's looking really good, guys. We don't have a whole lot more to do. The only thing left, in my opinion, is I want to get rid of all this extra stuff out here on the outer bounds beyond the bleed. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the View menu and turn Smart Guides back on. I'm going to open up my Layers panel, and I'm going to create one more layer. And I'm going to call that layer Clip. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle to the size that I want everything masked. And in my case, it's going to be to this bleed guide. So I'm just going to kind of click and drag, and I'm going to draw a rectangle to the size of that bleed guide. Now I'm just going to fill it with white to make it easier to see. And if I want to use my transform panel to make it exactly the size that I want, I can do that. And as I look at this, this is actually already looking perfect. So everything snapped the way that I wanted it to. Now, if you open up the clip layer, you can see that I have a rectangle in there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the locations layer, shift click on the background layer, and I'm actually going to drag up and to the right a little bit. And when you see this line, I'm going to let go. And what I've done is I've taken all of those main layers and made them sub-layers of the clip layer. And notice that they're all underneath the rectangle layer. What that's going to allow me to do is that if I highlight the clip layer, I can come down here and I can click on the Make Release Clipping Mask button. And that is actually going to use that layer, and you'll notice that it's now clipping all of those elements to that rectangle shape, which has become the clipping mask. And you'll notice in the Layers panel, the object that's underlined is what's actually masking everything below it. The other way you could do that if you didn't want to use layers is you could just draw an object on top of other elements, select them all, and you can go to the Object menu and choose Clipping Mask and then Make. That would achieve a similar result, but using this method, I'm able to retain all of my layer structure. So that's looking pretty good, and that pretty much finishes up the back of our business card. Great job, guys. I think this will help our customers find our location and help identify key areas of the neighborhood when they come to visit.